But you shouldn't think that the fact that by Hashem automatically everything is known to him without him making any efforts to know anything. It's part of knowing himself and being himself. Nevertheless, it's not a kind of a general knowing. No, the Rebbe says, everything is known to him bipratius, to the smallest detail. Good evening. Tonight is the eve of the 13th Yud Gimel Adar Aleph, Adar Rishon, and we are in Basi Legani. And in the contrast of Basi Legani, we are on page Chavav, which is Ois Zayin. And we had a Kabbalistic discussion about the Kelim of Atzilus. Are they in the manner of Yesh Me'ayin or Gilui HaHelem? They are issued in the manner of, are they issued in the manner of Yesh Me'ayin? In that case, the way Yesh Me'ayin is created is that the Ayin is completely hidden from the Yesh. The Ayin that creates the Yesh is completely hidden from it. And therefore, in that case, the Yesh, the Keli, is problematic because the Keli, rather than reveal the light, now it will conceal and hide the light. And therefore, Hasidus follows the Shita that the Kelim of Atzilus are Gilui HaHelem. They are actually Megale, that which is hidden in Or Ein Sof. And we concluded that the Kelim of Atzilus are also Elokus, are also godliness. And this is because just as Or Ein Sof has a power of Bligvul, a power of infinity, Or Ein Sof, to be Shlemusa the Kula, to be the perfection of everything, also possesses a infinite power of Gvul, to limit, power of finitude. And both of them are an expression of Or Ein Sof. And therefore the Kelim of Atzilus, according to the way Hasidus explains, are not blocking the Or Eloki, rather they are revealing the Or Eloki, and they themselves are Elokus. What difference does it make? It makes a huge difference regarding the way we perceive reality. This is really the discussion between Yosef and his brothers when he discloses to them that Ani Yosef, that he is their brother Yosef. And they didn't recognize him at all. They thought he is a Mitzri. He's Egyptian. They didn't recognize him. What does it mean, Beruchnius? So, if we are saying that the Kelim of Atzilus are not separate from Elokus, rather they are one with Elokus, then the Inyan Zeh, this matter that in Atzilus, lo shayach shinui v'ispilus, Atzilus, everything in Atzilus is still one with infinity, one in Or Ein Sof. And therefore, even the Kelim of Atzilus are only a potential to create Gvul outside of Atzilus. But the Kelim of Atzilus are still Elokus, are still godliness. And therefore, in Atzilus, lo shayach shinui v'ispilus. That in Atzilus, nothing in Atzilus, it can be affected in a manner that will distract distract itself from the only reality in Atzilus that is experienced in Atzilus, which is Ein Od Milvado. So if you maintain, Atzilus is not a place that a physical place that you can send a rocket and you send it high enough miles, you'll get there. It's right here. It's a level of consciousness. And in Atzilus, lo shayach shinui v'ispilus. In Atzilus, worlds do not make any change. And this is what we need to understand, that in Atzilus, even though The Kelim of Atzilus have the potential to create Gvul, to create creations, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, creations that feel themselves separate from their source. Nevertheless, in Atzilus, nothing will be impacted by that. Nothing will be changed by that. Because in Atzilus, the Kelim maintain their infinity, their divinity. And this, really, these two shittos that we presented last time are representing two philosophies. How should we relate to reality? Yosef's brothers had a little bit, excuse me for saying it, and they should meichel me, a little bit of an Eastern kind of hashkafa. That if you want to come closer to the light, you have to run away from the Keli. When you want to come closer to divinity, to the divine, you have to run away from the world, because the world is a contradiction. It's a stira, it's a contradiction to the infinity of godliness. And Chassidus says, no, it is an expression of the divine power of Gvul, which is part of the divine perfection. And therefore, Yosef and his brothers had completely different hashkafa how to live life, to the extent that his brothers could not recognize him. They could not recognize the possibility of serving God in a manner that Yosef did. How so? Matzinu gam benogea להנהגה בפועל. This, that in Atzilus, if you maintain the consciousness of Atzilus, that the Gvul doesn't make a change in you, then we find it also in Hanhaga Bepoal, how a person conducts himself. והנה ידוע החילוק שבין יוסף להשבטים. The difference between Yosef and his brothers, the Shvatim, is known. שביוסף כסיב ויבוא הביתה לעשות מלאכתו, למבדק בכתבי חושבני. Targum Onkelos says that when he says about Yosef that he came home to do his work, says the Targum, למבדק בכתבי חושבני, which means to do his bookkeeping. And it began in Potiphar's house, that he was in charge of all the assets. Potiphar had a lot of assets, and Yosef was running the bookkeeping of all his assets, and אחר כך נעשה משנה למלך, he became the vice to the king. ועד שבלעדיך לא ירים איש את ידו ואת רגלו בכל ארץ מצרים. To the extent that so much power did Paro give to Yosef, that it says that without you, no one could raise his hand or his foot in the entire land of Egypt. Yosef was the overpowering royal leader of the land of Mitzrayim. V'af al pi chen, and that is to the details. No one could move a hand or a foot without his consent. And that means that Yosef was completely involved and engaged in the bookkeeping, in the chushbana, in making all the chushbonas of the economy, of the superpower of Egypt. ואף על פי כן עמד על עומדו בעבודת השם בדרגת העבודה שבעולם האצילוס. Nevertheless, none of that distracted Yosef from maintaining a consciousness of Olam HaAchdus, as Atzilus is called, the world of oneness, where nothing is contradicting to Or Ein Sof. Everything is an expression of Or Ein Sof. And therefore, even though Yosef was so much invested and engaged in the physical and material cheshbonos of this world, nevertheless he maintained the pure Achdus mentality, the oneness consciousness of Olam HaAtzilus, Ein Od Milvado. and he didn't feel any contradiction. ואילו השבטים, עליהם נאמר, והם לא הכירו. But about his brothers, the Shvatim, it says they didn't recognize him. They couldn't recognize such a way of serving God. שמצד מעמדם של השבטים בעבודת הבורא באופן שרואה צאן היו עבדיך, שהיו בהתבודדות מחוץ לעיר. What was the position of the Shvatim? In the serving of Hashem, they chose to be shepherds, ro'ei tzon. They were in a manner of hisboidedus, secluding themselves outside of the hubbub of the city and keeping themselves on the mountains and taking care of sheep. כדי שענייני העיר לא יבלבלו אותם לעבודת הבורא. So the urban matters of the city, of the hubbub of society, should not confuse them and distract them from serving the Creator. לא הייתה להם הכרה באופן עבודתו של יוסף. They did not have the awareness of the possibility to serve God like their brother Yosef. They could not recognize such possibility. שבהיותו במעמד ומצב שעל ידו נעשים כל פרטי העניינים בארץ מצרים, ערבס הארץ. They couldn't fathom how Yosef, being in a position that through him all the details of the different matters and inyanim of Mitzrayim are running, which is all the way to Ervas Haaretz, the nakedness of the world. Mitzrayim was a very corrupt place, and everything was running by Yosef there, in a place of corruption and impurity and ungodliness. Nevertheless, הייתה עבודתו באופן העבודה, כאופן העבודה בעולם האצילוס. His service of Hashem was like the manner of serving God of a tzaddik who is in a level of atzilus. That means that he doesn't feel that anything contradicts the Einod Milvadoi. Everything is just another channel to reveal Elokus and another opportunity to bring Elokus into the world and to run the world accordingly. וטעם הדבר, and the reason is, לפי שדרגת השבטים היא בעולם הבריאה. The darga of the souls of the Shvatim, which are representing the ordinary Jew, the source of the ordinary Jew, like us, is in Olam HaBriya, and there might be exceptions here. So the Shvatim come from the world of Bria. Bria follows the tzimtzum of Malchus of Atzilus. And therefore, if in Atzilus the experience is Einod Milvadoi, in Bria, whatever exists in Bia, in Bria, Yetzira or Asiya, is Yesh Od Milvadoi, Einod Milvadi. In our world, for sure, there's not none. If there's anyone besides me, that's something that I need to start considering. But I exist now. I have to figure out, if Hashem exists. They are from Olam HaBriya. That means that in Bria you experience the first opinion, Yesh Me'ayin. And the Yesh doesn't recognize its own creating power. That's the unique way of creating Yesh Me'ayin, that none of creations can do. It's only in the bosom of the Creator, as the Alter Rebbe says in Torah Or. So דרגת השבטים was עולם הבריאה, ואילו דרגתו של יוסף היא בעולם האצילוס. The level of Yosef is the world of Atzilus, where everything is one with godliness. There is no separation from the oneness. וזהו שאמר יוסף לאחיו, התחת אלוקים אני? When they were afraid, now he's going to be, God forbid, vengeful or whatever, or resentful. He said, hatachat, the simple meaning means, am I God? It all came from God. I did not create the situation, and you didn't. It all comes from God. Atachas Elokim ani, but the Hasidus brings the inner meaning. Tachas Elokim means tzimtzum. Gvuros. That's present. Gvuros is 5 Gvuros of Malchut, tzimtzum. So Yosef is telling them, I am above Elokim. I am above the tzimtzum. I am not in a reality that feels separate from its source. I am above the Elokim. And therefore I feel how everything is the expression of the infinite light. פירוש, הרי אני למעלה מבחינת שם אלוקים. I am higher than Malchus of Atzilus. I am at least Yesod. I am Zo of Atzilus. I'm higher. Malchus de Atzilus, Hamakor de Oilamos Biyah. I am not Tachas Elokim, which is the source. How the Malchus of Atzilus becomes the source of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, the created worlds that feel separate from their source. ולא תחת שם אלוקים כמו אתם. I am not under the effect of the name of Elokim where Hashem hides himself. The creator hides himself from creation. And that's why we don't see God. Like you are under Shem Elokim, and therefore you feel separate from your source. And therefore you feel that certain things contradict. The Keli, you have to be very careful, you have to stay away from the world, because there are all kinds of conditions that limit your ability to feel one with God. Only one way you think is the way to connect with God. And I am in Atzilus. In Atzilus, every way is a way to connect with God. Even that which looks like Gvul. You'll find eternity there too. Even in our world, you find that the moon and the sun are in their power all these years, thousands of years, without diminishing at all. You find eternity all over, in the Gvul. וכיוון שיוסף היה מבחינת האצילוס, לכן לא הייתה המחשבה מדברי העולם מבלבלת אותו כלל. And since Yosef maintained the level of Atzilus, his thought, when he thought was engaged in worldly affairs, it didn't confuse or distract him at all from feeling one with godliness. כפי שמבאר אדמו"ר מהר"ש, as the Rebbe Maharash explained. The Rebbe brings, the Frierdiker Rebbe, all the Rebbeim. The Rebbe follows that also. And not to underestimate the Maila of the Shvatim. We need to, we need to have both. We are descendants of the Shvatim. Just as some of us are descendants of Yosef, but Yosef is called the son Yosef. We are called son Yosef. We are called the flock of Yosef. So there are times that we have to act like the Shvatim. There are times that it's time to stay away and to remove ourselves from the world and to create times where I'm reflecting, I'm withdrawing to within my own world and finding my peace and my divinity or my space or my sanity inside me. Or however I communicate. And there are times that I am davening and at times, I need to direct my awareness away from the world. But Yosef teaches us that we can also be in a world and be connected to the Olam HaAchdus, to the world of oneness. ובזה מבאר גם לשון רבותינו זיכרונם לברכה, גלוי וידוע לפני מי שאמר והיה העולם. The expression is גלוי וידוע. Everything is גלוי וידוע before the one that spoke and the world came to be, to existence. So what does it mean גלוי וידוע Kabbalistically? There are two ways to know something, the Rebbe will teach us. One way is to really invest your mind into something until you know it. This is a kind of a proactive kind of knowing. And then there is Yud as the knower, and then there is the power of knowing, your mind, and then there is the known that you are investing your mind into. And once you know it, now you changed. Before you didn't know it, now you know it. That's not Galui v'Yadua. Galui v'Yadua is that Mimele, automatically, everything is known to God without him investing himself. Sheyadua lefanav Mimele, everything is known before God naturally, ve'ino bivchinas islabshus bivchinas hamachshava. Hashem doesn't know the world in a manner of investing his thoughts in the world, and now he knows the world as if they are outside of him, the way we get to know something. ומבאר שזהו מה שביאר הרמב"ם, הוא היודע והוא הידוע. That Hashem, Rambam says, that Hashem is the knower and Hashem is the known. It's one thing by Hashem. That whatever is known to him as part of himself, as knowing himself. And it's not an investigating kind of knowledge. It is known to him automatically. והנה יש בייס בחינות בעניין הדעת שלמעלה. There are two levels in the divine das, in consciousness and awareness. Das, tachton v'das elyon. There is a lower consciousness and there is a higher consciousness. Das, tachton הוא באופן שהוא היודע, שהוא באופן של הסלבשוס כביכול. ומצד זה יש שינוי בין קודם הידיעה, בשעת הידיעה ולאחרי הידיעה. What is das tachton, the lower level of knowing? The lower level of awareness is that is in the manner of islabshus, that one has to invest and enclose his mind in that which he wants to know. ומצד זה, because of that, there is a change between before knowing, before investing oneself in knowing something, b'shas idea, while getting to know it and investigating it, and l'achar idea, and after getting to know it. There is a change in the knower. This is das tachton, when one is invested and caught up in the knowing. But that's not galui v'yadua, revealed and known. ודס עליון הוא באופן שהוא הידוע. What's das עליון? That the knower, which means God himself, is also the known. It's one thing, אין עוד מלבדוי. היינו שידוע לפניו ממילא. That means that everything is known to him automatically. לא בבחינת הסלבשוס. Not in a manner of needing to invest and engage himself in order to know the world. And is such to be affected and changed by the words. No. Next page, ח"ז. אך גם בבחינת דס עליון ידוע לפניו הכל בפרטיוס. But you shouldn't think that the fact that by Hashem automatically everything is known to him without him making any efforts to know anything. It's part of knowing himself and being himself. Nevertheless, it's not a kind of a general knowing. No, the Rebbe says, everything is known to him bipratius, to the smallest detail. וכמאמר הז"ל בראש השנה, כל באי העולם עוברים לפניו כבני מרון, שנמנים אחד אחד, וכולם נזכרים בסקירה אחת, ואף על פי שעוברים זה אחר זה. שזהו עניין בהשגחה פרטיס על כל פרט ופרט שנמצא למטה. That like what happens on Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, all creatures are passing in front the judge, the supreme judge, and they are counted and looked at one by one, and at the same time they are all looked at in one glance. So in one glance, Hashem sees Kol Bnei Maron, and at the same time, each and every one of them individually, according to what they are and what they did and what they deserve and how much and what bekamus and what be'echus. And this is the עניין of השגחה פרטיס. זהו עניין דהשגחה פרטיס על כל פרט ופרט שנמצא למטה. This is what it means, that is a divine what? Providence on each and every detail that you can find below. Below means in the created worlds. ועד שאמרו רז"ל, עד שלא נוצרה מחשבה בליבו של אדם, גלוי וידוע לפניו יתברך. To the extent that our sages said that even before a thought falls in a person's mind, Hashem knows it already. What a person is going to think. Everything is automatically galui v'yadua lefanav. He sees it all by itself, without needing to engage himself in this seeing and knowing. אלא שזהו בדרך גלוי וידוע לפניו. This is the manner that everything is known to him and revealed to him. שאינו מסלבש כלל בידיעה זו. Hashem is not invested and enclosed and therefore not caught up in this knowing and doesn't change as a result at all. He maintains his infinity, he maintains his קדושה, his holiness. רק שהוא ידוע מאליו וממילא. And only that naturally, automatically, everything is known to him. But not as knowing something which is outside of him. ובזה מתרץ רבינו הזקן, מה שלכאורה הידיעה שמבין מחשבת כל הנבראים, הוא למעלה כמו מחשבות זרות ודברי הוואי. And this, the Alter Rebbe explains that לכאורה, the way Hashem knows, nobody should be offended, but the way Hashem knows the thoughts of all Nivraim, Lemaila, is considered like foreign thoughts, like Havai, like meaningless thoughts. You know, that like we have sometimes you have in a screen, there's something for, you know, there's oisios, words are like streaming, you don't even pay attention to them. You know, Divrei Havai, that's like the creation. כיוון שאין זו בחינת הסלאפסוס המחשבה כלל. Because it's not that Hashem is investing and engaging his thought, his consciousness, so to speak, into creation, and as such, he gets affected by it. כי אם שהוא בדרך גלוי וידוע. Everything is just happens to be known to God as part of himself, בדרך ממילא, automatically, naturally. כמו שלגבי יוסף. יוסף, לא היו מבלבלים המחשבות מדברי העולם. Just as by Yosef, thinking about all the economical issues and the bookkeeping and the running of the empire of Egypt did not at all confuse or distract him from being one with the Lakus, with the awareness of godliness. And the Rebbe says, don't think it's such an aloof idea that only Nachlas Ha'avar, only belongs to the past. No, you know what says the Rebbe? ומוסיף שם, דרבה רש"ב, שמצינו כך, דרבה מרש, I'm sorry, שמצינו כן אצל נשיאי ישראל. That we found the same behavior of Yosef and the same power of Yosef to be in the world, yet to be one with God without any compromise, we find by Nesi Israel, by the leaders of the Jewish people. גם בדורות שלאחר זה, also in the following generations, שזהו שפעל הבעל שם טוב ז"ל. This is what the Baal Shem Tov accomplished regarding himself. שאף שהיה למטה בעולם הזה הגשמי, he accomplished that even though he was in this physical world, לא יהיה לו שום סתירה כלל להיות גם כן בעולמות העליונים. It should not be a contradiction at all to be at the same time in the highest spiritual worlds as well, all the way to Atzilus. The Baal Shem Tov accomplished that, and people used to consult him and to ask for his help in very gashmius things. וכפי שמבאר אדמו"ר האמצעי, as the Mittler Rebbe explains, מה שהבעל שם טוב, התפלל כמה תפילות שיוכל להשיב לשואלו דבר בעש עליית נשמה סוכלו. Says the Mittler Rebbe that the Baal Shem Tov prayed so many prayers that he should be able to maintain his consciousness of Olam Atzilus in the highest worlds, yet to be able to answer questions about Gashmius things, physical things, and physical issues or problems or difficulties, while he's being in the highest worlds. והיינו, דאם היות שכדי להשיב לשואלו בענייני עולם הזה, צריך להשיב לפי פרטי השאלה והשואל, that he accomplished that even though, together with the fact that in order to answer properly a question that is asked from this world, one has to answer according to the details of the question. If you are in a spiritual world, you cannot give spiritual answers. If somebody answers you a physical question, מכל מקום, nevertheless, בשעס מעשה עומדו בעבודתו במדרגתו כמו בעולם העליון. At the time that he is listening and counseling the person who is asking and has an issue with this physical world, he is maintaining his service and his level of consciousness in the highest worlds. The Baal Shem Tov accomplished that he could be in both worlds at the same time and not feel a contradiction. ומסיים שם, and there the Mittler Rebbe becomes more specific and know what he reveals to us, the secrets about the Baal Shem Tov, how he conducted himself during the week versus Shabbos versus the week. שבליל שבס קודש היה בעל שם טוב בי שליש למעלה או שליש אחד למטה, ובשאר ימי החול בהיפוך, שליש אחד למעלה ובי שליש למטה. He said that the Baal Shem Tov, from Friday night, the night of Shabbos Kodesh, he was 2/3 Oiben above and 1/3 down here. But then, the rest of the days of the week, in the weekdays, it was the other way around. He was 2/3 in this world and 1/3 למעלה. והיינו שאילו זה שענייני החול לא בלבלו אותו מעבודתו, אינו מצד מיילס השבס. And the Rebbe makes a point that this ilui, this special quality that the Baal Shem Tov accomplished, that the mundane issues did not confuse him or not compromise his avoida on a level of Atzilus, is not because Shabbos came. We all feel an aliyah when Shabbos comes. אלא מצד עניינו הוא. No, it's something that he, through his avoida and his tefillos, and many tefillos that he davened to Hashem, accomplished. שלכן מסיים, and therefore he concludes the Mittler Rebbe, שעל דרך זה היה גם בשאר ימי החול. That likewise, the Baal Shem Tov extended the Shabbos awareness to the weekdays awareness. כמו שלגבי יוסף לא היו מבלבלים המחשבות מדברי העולם. That he accomplished what Yosef accomplished. That the thoughts of this world did not distract him from the oneness of Hashem. והיינו לפי שהוא על דרך העניין דגלוי וידוע. Because the way Yosef and the Baal Shem Tov, and we have the ability potentially to do the same, were engaged in knowing the world, was in the way that Galui v'yadua, everything is known, but I am not caught up by it. I see everything, I know everything, but I am not caught up. I'm maintaining my exaltedness. I'm maintaining my position within my essence. ועל דרך זה בצדיקים שדומים לבורם. And so too, regarding tzaddikim, and the Rebbe always says, Be'amech kulam tzaddikim. We are all potential tzaddikim. Tzaddikim are resembling Hashem. There's just as Hashem doesn't get caught up by knowing everyone and everything, and he doesn't change by it and remains free and completely unbound by anything and unchanged by anybody or anything, so too tzaddikim can maintain this freedom. שלכן גם כאשר משיב לפי פרטי העניין והשואל, אינו מספעל ואינו משתנה. And therefore, even a tzaddik on the level of Baal Shem Tov or Yosef a tzaddik, even when he needs to answer questions about the lowest materialistic inyanim, nevertheless, and to be to provide a very tailored, custom-made, tailored answer to the needs of the one who presents the question, Eino mispa'el ve'eino mishtane. He doesn't get affected, he doesn't change at all while being engaged with the one that is asking. And this is very important to know. The Tzai mitzad Or Ein Sof, that we are learning that the focus of this Maimar is Or Ein Sof on this year, is Or Ein Sof lemata mata ad en tachlis. So it's very exciting to understand that Or Ein Sof is lemata mata ad en tachlis, in the lowest, specific, most concrete detail, yet it doesn't change at all. It maintains its authenticity, its divine, infinite authenticity and truth. And number two is that we have chelek elokam mima'al mamash. And we contain also the ability to live in peace, to be in this world entirely and live in peace with the divine, and to bridge between the two, because the kelim of Atzilus are also Elokus, are also representing the power of Gvul, a power of Or Ein Sof, which is infinite. And you see it even, the Rebbe is not talking here, but you see it in creation especially, that because there is no comparison between the Ayin and the Yesh, the Ayin creates, and Ayin not mislabesh, is not caught up. Therefore, the Ayin can create infinite creations, and at the same time, because it doesn't get caught up. So it can create one crocodile in the one side of the world, and one polar bear in the other side of the world at the same time, because it doesn't get caught up. And we have the ability to be present to all kinds of situations in this world and not to lose the perspective of Atzilus, of Ein Od Milvadoi. It's a very optimistic way to look at reality. Umamshich ba'Maimar, and the Rebbe continues to explain the previous Rebbe's Basi Legani, שהטעם לכך שהאור המחיה אין בו שום שינוי והספיילוס כלל, ולפי שאינו מסערב. That the reason why the light that animates everything does not change and does not get affected at all by the fact that it creates and animates everything. Es kulam, ata mechaya es kulam. The reason is because eina misarev. It doesn't, how do you say misarev? It doesn't get mixed with, doesn't blend really. Doesn't get mixed with anything. והעניין בזה דהנה ריחוק הערך והשייכוס בין האור אינסוף להמטה מטה אינו טעם מספיק שלא יספעל ולא ישתנה. It's not enough, the Rebbe is explaining it more specifically. And the Rebbe is saying, it's not enough to say that the reason, why Or Ein Sof doesn't get changed at all by being the creator of all the different creations. You know why? Because ריחוק הערך והשייכוס בין אור אין סוף למטה מטה. Because Or Ein Sof is so much higher and so much further from the mata mata as we know it. And because of that, there is no comparison, and therefore, because there's no comparison, the mata mata is so insignificant that for Or Ein Sof, it doesn't make a difference. No, the Rebbe says it's not enough of the reason. You know why? The ראיה לדבר מהסלבשות הנשמה בגוף. You have a phenomena of the neshama being enclosed in the body, and there is no erech between the neshama and the guf. The soul, the goof is not comparable to the soul. Nevertheless, the soul is invested in the body and does get affected by the body. We know that our mood gets affected when the body is not happy, and the body is happy when the soul is happy. The body gets affected too. We know that one affects the other. There is a change. Even though there is such a big incomparability between the soul and the body. The soul is a spiritual, unlimited entity, and the body is a physical, finite entity. שלמרות ריחוק הערך שביניהם, להיות הפכים, even though the body and the soul are so distant from each other, that they are really opposites, והתקשרותם אינה אלא, and their connecting with each other is nothing but בכוח המפליא לעשות, next page, חפכס, כמו שכתב הרמה בשולחן ערוך, as Moshe Isserlich writes in Shulchan Aruch, when we say Moedeani, that Hashem brings back the neshama to the body, it's a miracle. Koach hamafli la'asot, it's only done because of wondrous power, divine power that combines the spiritual entity with the physical entity. A spiritual unlimited entity with a physical finite entity, the soul and the body. הרי לאחרי ההסלבשוס, nevertheless, even though they are so infinitely different from each other, after the soul is invested in the body, mispaeles haneshama mimikre aguf. The neshama gets affected from the occurrences of the body, 100%. ואילו האור האלוקי המהווה ומחיה אינו מספעל ואינו משתנה. So when the body gives life, chayos to when the soul gives chayos to the body, it changes all the time. It changes from the occurrences with the body. It changes from the fact that now it becomes a physical energy. Now the power of seeing, the spiritual power of the soul now becomes a physical power of seeing, let's say, or the spiritual power of hearing now becomes a physical power of hearing. There's a tremendous change when the soul, which is 180 degrees different and opposite of the body, is invested in the body. Nevertheless, by Hashem, when He is invested in the world to create the world and to animate it, Eino Mishpael ve'eino Mishtane, does not get affected, that creative power, and does not change. V'hainu lefi she'eino misarev, because it doesn't mix with creation. It doesn't get caught up. Uchefi shemamshich be'hamaymer, it's a little bit like the sun, that the sunlight can go anywhere and can do all kind of things, can be blocked or not blocked, will affect people, they will shine like this, will through this window, that window, and with all kind of effects, but it will not make any difference to the sun. And even if the cloud will pass by and the sun will disappear, it's just the light of the sun, doesn't make a difference to the sun. And so too, אור אינסוף אינו מסערב, כפי שממשיך במיימר, וכמו שכתוב, and as it says, in Shmuel, Aleph, פרק בייס, פסוק בייס, אין קדוש כהוויה. Shmuel HaNavi proclaims there is no holy like Havaya. Ve'ita b'Zohar, explains the Zohar, kama kadishin inun ve'leis kadosh ke'Havaya. There are many levels of kedusha, of holiness, but there is no holy like Hashem. The kadosh Havaya eino kemo kama kadishin deseder ishtashelus. There are many times positions of kedusha in Seder Ishtalshelus. What does it mean? But it's not like the way Hashem is Kadosh. What does it mean? The Kadishin שבסדר Ishtalshelus הוא the Kadosh ומובדל. What does it mean, the Kedusha of Seder Ishtalshelus, in Seder Ishtalshelus? That something is completely above and removed from something else. וקדושתם הוא שאינם באים בהסלבשוס. And therefore, let's say A is completely removed from B. So the way A will relate to B, or the way A will affect B, is not in a manner of Islapshus, A will not be invested in B. A will affect B in a manner of kedusha, of separation, that B will feel A as removed. אבל כאשר מסלבשים, however, if A will not remain makif and removed, rather it will be investing itself in pnimius, הרי הם בבחינת תפיסה, then A will be in trouble, because A will be caught up in B, and therefore will change. So in Seder Ishtalshelus, if something makif tries to be pnimi, if something which is encompassing and above and kadosh tries to be in pnimi, to act like memale, then it becomes b'vchinas tfisa, it gets caught up. And tfisa poel shinui. And when one is caught up, it creates a change by the giver. Ma she'ein ken kadosh havaye. This is not the case regarding the kedusha, the holiness of Havai, of Hashem as the creator. Shehu b'chinas ha'or. That's the inyan of light, Or and Sof, that creates godliness, that is compared to light. Eino domeh la'akadish in the Seder Ishtalshelus. Or and Sof that creates everything is not similar and not identical to all the kedushas of Seder Ishtalshelus. Vehu ma she'eino mislabesh. But in the entire Seder Ishtalshelus, anything you call kadosh, it means that it's not caught up and it's not invested. It remains aloof. It remains beyond. It remains not perceived. It remains not internalized. V'chasher ba b'islapshus, and if the higher, that A will come to be invested, and in that case, eino b'vchinas, then eino, when in Hashem, but when it comes to all other kedushos, when it comes to islapshus, then there is tfisa. And if there is tfisa, there's shinu, there's a change. But by Hashem, even when Or and Sof is invested in each and every creation, islapshus, invested, it has to, because it has to bring every creation to existence the way it has its own personality and its own nature and its own components and whatever it is, and on purpose, whatever it is, it has to create it exactly as it is. And then it has to animate it all the time, exactly with the kind of life force that it needs. It's very much bislapshus. And at the same time, it's not affected and doesn't change. It's not caught up by the fact that it's mashpia, that it creates and animates. Hare eino b'vchinas tfisa. Or and Sof is not caught up in creation. Lefi she'eino misarev, because it doesn't blend and doesn't get mixed with creation. Vehu kedugmas ha'or lemata. It's like a mashal of the sun light, of light below, that light shemeir, it shines, umikol makom eino misarev. When the light shines in the room, it doesn't change the room. The table doesn't change when the light shines on it. You can see the table or not, but the table doesn't change. And the truth is that the light doesn't change either. That even though the window might be a red window, and in the room it will look like red light, but if you look at the light itself, like a light of a traffic light, the light is white, is not red, and not green, doesn't change. Like the light when it shines through glass, tainted glass. There is a red glass, and there is green glass and white glass. ומה שתפס אדומה ירוקה לבנה, יש לומר מפני שהם בגימל הקווין, שזהו כלל וסדר השתלשלוס. The fact why he mentioned here an example of the red glass and green glass and the white glass is to represent Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes, the three kavim, the three lines, the right line, the middle line, and the left line, the Seder Ishtalshelus, the spheros operate, how the divine flow goes down in three kavim, through the three lines of the right, the middle, and the left. Aduma, the red glass represents the left side, the Gvura, and Kava small. Yeruka, Kava Imtsai. I don't know Yeruka, sometimes it's green, sometimes it's yellow, sometimes I see here it's pink. You know, Yeruka can be Tiferes, but the question is what color it is exactly. If you know for sure, let me know. Or Levana, and then white is Kava Chesed. So Chesed is white and Gvura is red, and Tiferes is either yellow or green or purple sometimes. The Yesh Chilukim b'maros elu. So in these, behind those, when the light goes through these glasses, there are differences how the light will appear. אבל האור הרי הוא פשוט ובלתי יש בו שום מראה כלל ממרוס הזכוכית. But the light itself is a plain light and doesn't have any color of all these colors of the glasses. לפי שהוא רק מה שמאיר על ידם. The light only shines through the colored glasses. וגם אם מאיר על ידם בהסלבשוס. And even when this light does shine through the glass בהסלבשוס. הסלבשוס meaning what? שהרי לאחרי שהאור עובר דרך הזכוכית, אינו נראה אור פשוט אלא אדום או ירוק. That if you look at the light after it goes through a red glass, or you look at water from the outside of a red glass, the water will look red. The light on the other side of the glass will look red. Does it mean that the light changed? No. On one hand, it really be slapshus, which means it takes on the character of the red glass or the green glass, and whatever it is. But does it change? No. It's like the traffic light. It will show up red or it will show up green. But did it change? No, it's white light. והיינו שהאור בא באופן, it's plain light, שהאור בא באופן שיש לו ערך עם הזכוכית. The ore comes about in a manner that it does have a relation to the glass. Why? Because now it shows up as red light. So it relates to the glass. And it's בהסלבשוס. ובנמשל הוא עניין הסלבשוס האור להבוס ולהחיוס. This is in the mashal. The ore is a mashal. The physical light is a mashal to the divine light. And the physical mashal is that the light is going through the red or the green glass and therefore appears red or light or green. And in the nimshal, in the analog, the nimshal is the divine creative light. The slabshus of the divine to create and to animate, that operates like light. On one hand, it's very specific and very custom-made and tailored to each and every creation, and at the same time, it doesn't get changed at all, because it doesn't get caught up. מכל מקום אין האור נתפס. This divine light does not get caught up in creation, unlike the soul in the body. לפי שאינו מסערב, because this light does not get mixed and blend with the kelim, with the world. וכמו כן יובן דרך דוגמה באור וחיוס אלוקי המחיה. And so will be understood regarding the divine life force, the creative force, שאינו משתנה כלל. It doesn't change at all as it creates and animates everything. ואין בו שום שינוי והספיילוס, and God doesn't change at all, doesn't have any effect by that. וכל זהו לפי שהאור הוא אין סוף בעצם. And why is it so? Because the light is really, really אין סוף בעצם. על כן, הנה גם הספשטוסו בבחינת אין סוף. And since the light is a reflection or expansion or manifestation of the infinite, therefore the light itself is Ein Sof. The light is infinite itself, because it carries the the quality of its luminary, of its source. And the light is infinite. And because it's infinite, נמשך בכל המדרגות. Therefore, it is all, this Ein Sof, as we learn about it, is omnipotent. It can do anything, go everywhere, anywhere, be anything, be everything. גבול, בלי גבול, infinite, finite, whatever you want. Why? Because it's really, really, really infinite. And not limited by anything. שנמשך בכל המדרגות. And therefore, Ein Sof is drawing it all levels. עד המדרגות היותר האחרונות והיותר התחתונות. To the lowest levels. Even, I'm sure, in captivity in Gaza. The lowest. ובכל מקום שהוא נמשך. And wherever it is, אינו מספעל ואינו משתנה. It maintains its authentic truth and doesn't get changed at all. אלא הוא בבחינת פשיטוס בעצם. Rather, it remains formless and pure and unlimited. And the Rebbe will go next time, and I hope next time, B'ezrat Hashem, will finish the Maimar, I hope to, what difference it makes to us.
The Ein Sof that goes through the red and the green and the blue doesn't change. And we have an Elokai Mimal Mamish. So our neshama, is that the same way that our neshama gets affected by the body?
Yes.
Like it's a green, red, and blue light, but it also doesn't change?
We have also that, yes, that we have the Chelek Elokai Mimal Mamash, that even though to us it feels like, how can you be in this world and not be affected? I mean, how? And especially the world that we were exposed to recently.
Right.
How? So we have that ability.
Mm-hmm.
No, we have this reality in us.
Mm-hmm.
That can see everything as part of the divine. We have the ability to see it all as one in Atzilus way, in Yosef's way. Mm-hmm. And to see how everything is just another opportunity to reveal the divine.
Mm-hmm. The level of everybody's soul is different.
Okay.
Some are, right?
Okay.
So I'm just saying, Hashem just creates us with different levels of our soul, or our soul goes through stuff, but it can't. It's an Elokai Mimal Mamish. It can't get changed.
Both. What does it mean change? We are all coming from the main station.
Okay.
The train, which is ultimately it's God Himself. But in Seder Ishtashelus, Malchus or Batzilus. That's the home of all the neshamas.
Right.
And then now we go down. The train goes out of the train station.
Right.
And then it depends if it's a local train or express train. A tzaddik is an express train. From Atzilus straight to Asiya.
Mm-hmm.
And lower neshamos stop in each level and take the levush of that reality. And this is what it has to accomplish. And then that's what the shlichus is now tailored according to the consciousness of that neshama, whether it is in Bria or Yetzira or in Asiya, and in Asiya, which level in Asiya, we are now dealing with the Akevaim, with the heels of Seder Ishtashelus, with the lowest, but each one has a shlichus according to the type of neshama which is the type of consciousness with which or through which it perceives its reality. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's all through divinity. Different levels of divinity will affect.
And then the other issues that the Rebbe brings in Tanya, that's the neshama, but the levushim, that depends also on the parents, right? The garments through which the neshama can or cannot, or how much express. That's also an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to us too. It's not only the neshama itself is not so much our business, but the levushim for sure.
Right.
But even the neshama, through prayer, you can bring down a high neshama. We have a say in the matter. We could have a say in the matter.